You sure you want to record this? I mean, do you really think it's going to start on the first crank?
I don't know, try it. Guys, it's time for another episode. So you'll notice in the last episode we installed the engine, so now we have to do all the extra stuff that takes all the extra effort. We got our Instagram photo, the engine is in the car, so now it's time to actually get this thing running and driving and you know, all the stuff that all the SEMA cars seem to lack. So we're going to work on stuff like getting the car wired, getting all the plumbing done, all the little fiddly stuff that takes a lot of time but doesn't really look like you did anything. So I guess I'll start by showing, I've already started to figure out the front suspension. Obviously we went to a tubular K-member, so the original spring lives in this area. And we are converting to a coilover. So this is a purchase piece from a coilover conversion kit, but a lot of the other stuff up here was custom made to basically, it will take the original strut top and use that. We have camber adjustment, because they originally have camber adjustment. But we do not have any caster adjustment. Not a big deal. We should be able to get what we need here. Stock caster should be more than adequate for what we're doing. But yeah, that'll be one thing we're doing. And but right now we're going to take the valve cover off and we're going to give it a coat of paint, because frankly I think the corroded aluminum look is not the best. So let's get to work. Alright guys, so I just got done removing this mess from my Studebaker. We're going to convert my Studebaker back to a gold box, but for the Fairmont we need a less expensive ECU since we're taking it to the Grassroots Motorsports Challenge. So we're going to stick the micro squirt that was on my Studebaker onto the car, and we got to convert a few plugs. You know, I converted my Studebaker to LS coils. We're going to convert them back to the 3-pin stock plugs, and everything else should generally plug and play. One exception is, this is the plug for the idle air control valve on my Ford throttle body. So what I'm going to do on the Fairmont is we're not going to run an idle air control valve, and we're going to basically use this to try to control the variable valve timing solenoid. It will not be variable over different conditions, because the table for idle air control is not, it's not variable over RPM, which is what you would need, but it will allow us to apply a fixed offset angle via putting a certain duty cycle to this plug, and basically change the cam timing in a global value. Basically, you'll be able to put 10 degrees of retard, but you can't change it on any condition. It's 10 degrees. It's like instead of having to take the valve cover off and take the cam sprocket off and rotate it one tooth, we can do it with this and do it on a laptop and not have to take anything apart, and we can do increments that are in between 6.2 degrees. Since every tooth is 6.2 degrees, we can do increments of in between that, which is probably what you want. So it's like a adjustable cam sprocket, but you can do it with your laptop. So the engine's basically going to live above 3,000 RPM as it is, so I'm hoping that will reveal some power and we can get it to make that power reliably, unlike we were able to do with my Studebaker. So let's move on to other work. That's the wiring update. As you can see, I'm starting to lay out the harness, and one change we need to make is we are no longer running the factory ECU, so we are not going to use the drive-by-wire throttle body. So I need to cut this flange off here and put a LS 3-volt throttle body flange in place of it. So let's make that happen.
It's not even trying to fire.
Well, the pump's not running. Does that matter?
Sounded like it was starting to hit it. Yeah, it was. Just prime it. Okay. Try and start. Pump's not running while you're cranking.
Yeah.
Okay. Fire goes to. Okay, Y.
Let's see if I have an RPM signal on my trigger.
Good idea. Crank it again and we'll see what the voltage goes to. 12.55.
Yep, ready?
Yep. I still don't hear that fuel pump.
Yeah, I don't hear it either.
Just hold that guy on there. Okay.
Where's that? Where's that one?
Yeah, it's over tightened if it's the outlet.
It's this
side.
one. Oh,
Yeah.
it's in there.
Yep. No, that's the outlet.
I'm going to take the wire that triggers the relay for the fan, and we're going to splice it into the wire that triggers the fuel pump.
Well, why? Hang on. Why would you splice it? Isn't it on that end?
It's the trigger side of the relay. Trust me. Because the fuel pump goes right to there. So it has voltage. I know
Okay.
that. Alright guys, so we just started the car. It went pretty smooth. The only issue we had was, one, the battery voltage was low, and two, the trigger for my fuel pump relay was turning off when I started cranking the car. So I just fixed that, and we're going to try to start it again. So, wish us luck. Alright, ready?
I was 100% sure before, now I'm 200% sure.
So it's like the ECU's not working. Because I don't get any RPM here. It's like the ECU stops working, turns the fuel pump off, and then... Alright, so we're getting excessive voltage drop at the ECU. So we're going to run a heavier feed to the supply of the ECU. Everything's indicating that the ECU voltage is getting too low and it is not able to keep the ECU alive while it's cranking. So we're going to run a heavier wire directly to the battery instead of off the starter like what I did here, and that's going to go all the way back to the battery. So we're going to give that a shot, and hopefully it works.
It looks like it's seeing what it should on the engine speed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at what it's capturing from the engine, and it looks fine. Okay, ready? I have the run setting wrong. So I had the one setting in the ECU wrong. I set it to rising edge instead of falling edge. That fixed the problem. So sometimes you got to chase your tail a little bit, and then you figure out what's wrong, and it's happens to the best of us. So car starts, idles.
Spins tires.
Yeah, it spins the tires.
2 steps.
Yeah, 2 steps.
Builds
So
boost
I got
with no clamps.
a handful of wires here that I still got to hook up. Alright guys, so since the filming of the last episode, we have knocked out the cooling system, the radiator fan and shroud, the brakes, the fuel system, drive shaft, exhaust, plumbed the turbo, the oiling mods that you need to do to these engines to make them last under high output, primed the engine, shifter, trans-cooler, mounted battery, made a rear bulkhead, wheels and tires, bumpers, kill switch, alignment, throttle linkage, and the dipstick. So you can see the things that were not crossed off are yet to be completed, but we're making good progress. Obviously the car started and ran, so with that I think we're gonna end this video off here, and hopefully the next time you see this it will be on a dyno. So catch you guys in the next one.